So in our today's session, we are going to see one of the important topic, STLC, Software Testing Life Cycle. So far we have seen like what are the different concepts in software testing and different terminologies and all. So now we are slowly entering into the process. Okay. So where exactly software testing process will start and what are the different activities we'll do in the software testing process, and what are the different type of documents we will prepare, and different type of roles and responsibilities in each and every phase of software testing. So we are going to discuss as part of STLC, Software Testing Lifecycle. So in our previous sessions, we have seen SDLC processes, right? What is SDLC? Software Development Lifecycle. Software Development Lifecycle. So what software development lifecycle says? It says about it focus on complete full software development process. So this is software development life cycle. Okay, the full form of SDLC is software development life cycle. So SDLC, which talks about the complete software development process, the entire software development process from the beginning. So from taking requirement from the customer, then design, then coding, testing, maintenance, deployment. So each and every phase will be part of SDLC, software development lifecycle process. It talks about entire software development process. Now I'm talking about STLC, software testing lifecycle. So the full form of STLC is software testing lifecycle. Okay. So software testing lifecycle. So it talks about only software testing process. So SDLC for the entire software development process, and STLC is only meant for software testing process. So software testing is also part of software development process. So in the software development process, what are the different phases we have discussed? We have discussed about requirement analysis, and after that we have discussed about the design, then coding, and then testing, and after that deployment, and then maintenance. So these are the phases we have discussed as part of SDLC. So it is talking about entire software development process. Now SDLC is a process which is a part of SDLC. SDLC is a part of SDLC means wherever the testing phase is started, where exactly we apply software testing lifecycle. So even software testing lifecycle is also having a different phases. Like what are the different phases we have in SDLC? The first phase of SDLC is test planning, or we can say, yeah, let me share a small presentation. So first we need to understand the requirements. So requirements analysis, because we need to know the customer requirement before proceeding for testing. So tester input is requirement. So requirement analysis is the first phase of software testing lifecycle. And the second phase is test planning, test planning. And the third phase is test design. So these phases are related to STLC, software testing lifecycle, purely testing. So test design. And the fourth phase is test execution, test execution. And the next phase is bug or defect reporting, or we can say bug reporting, and finally test closure. So we'll finish the testing here. Okay, so this is a defect reporting and this is defect reporting, defect or bug reporting and tracking, right? So these are the different phases involved in SDLC. So again, in entry question, so what is SDLC, what is STLC, and what are the differences between SDLC and STLC? So SDLC is a software development process, software development lifecycle process, which talks about entire software development process from beginning, from requirement analysis, coding, testing, design, coding, testing, deployment, and maintenance. Everything will be part of SDLC. Whereas STLC, software testing lifecycle, is a part of SDLC because this will come during testing phase. So these are the different phases we have to follow during testing phase of SDLC process. So SDLC is a subset of SDLC process. Okay. So SDLC talk about the testing process, where exactly we have to start and what are the different documents we have to prepare and what are the different people can involved in software testing. So all these things will be taken care in SDLC process, software testing lifecycle process. Now, let us discuss one by one, okay, each and every phase of SDLC, what exactly we will do and what are the different people are there and who will involved and what are the activities we do. So we will discuss step by step. So let me just share small presentation. Okay. So this is a testing life cycle. What I have just noted down some points. So same points in the diagrammatic format. So requirements analysis, test planning, test case development or test case design, environment setup, test execution, and defect reporting is also part of test execution, because while executing your test cases, if you found any defects, we will report the defects to the developer. Okay, so as part of the execution, so defect reporting is also part of the test execution, and we can also tell that is a different, this is not exactly different phase. While executing the test cases, if you find any mismatches between your expected and actual, we consider that as a bug or defect and we will report to the developer. So that is a part of execution. So totally 6 phases: requirement analysis, planning, test case design or development, environment setup, test execution, test cycle, closure. So these are the different phases involved in the software testing life cycle. Now we will see step by step each and every activity. So requirement analysis, we already know. So requirement analysis means we will get some documents, FRS document, and some use cases and everything. They are basically describing the requirement from the customer, so we have to understand the application functionality based upon the documents provided by the business unit or customers. So that is the first phase, requirement analysis phase. We will understand the functionality. So apart from this, we have main phases called test planning. So testing process will start from test planning phase. So during test planning, what you will do is, during test planning, we are mainly focusing on three things. Test plan. So before doing anything or before doing any action, we should have a plan, proper plan, right? Then rest of the time will go as per the plan. So the first activity is test planning. So we have to plan for testing. So in the test planning, what you will do is what to test, how to test, and when to test. We are mainly focusing on three things. So what to test, so what exactly you have to test on our application, what are the different scenarios to be tested, what are the scenarios we don't need to test. So those things we need to identify. That is what to test, that should be included in the test plan. So test planning, we will prepare a small document, kind of test plan document we will say. In that particular document, we will mention all these things. So what to test, how to test. Okay, so we have identified certain scenarios, and then how we can conduct testing, like what kind of testing we have to conduct and what are the different automation tools we have to use. These are all comes under how to test. So first we need to know what to test, then we need to know how to test and when to test, because we have a different test cycles and each cycle is having a certain period of time, and we have to specify the time exactly from which day to which day we have to conduct the testing and how many hours each testing will conduct, like sanitary testing, how many hours we have to conduct, smoke testing, regression testing, functional testing. So how many hours of time we have to spend on these testings. So that is when to test. So these are the main three things which we have to focus while planning the test. So during test planning phase, we are focusing mainly on what to test, how to test, when to test. Okay, and that is a test planning phase, is the first initial phase. Now, to start test planning phase, what are the input documents we required? So to start a test planning phase, we need two documents: project plan, functional requirements. These are the inputs we required. So what is project plan means? Who will prepare that? Project managers or product managers will prepare the project plan. It's a management level, because project plan is a very high level document, so which includes the timelines. So when exactly the customer or client project is approved, Okay, and when we have to start, when we have to deliver the product to the customer, so all the times or all the duration will be part of project plan, including budget, technical, hardware, every requirement will be part of project plan. So project plan, from the project plan we will know the duration of the project, and based on that we can plan our test. So that's the reason we have to refer project plan. And we don't prepare any project plan, this is come from high level management. And functional requirement also we have to know. From FRS documents we need to read the documents and we need to understand the functionality, because we have to identify the scenarios what to test. So how to test, when to test, these things we will know based on the project plan. And what to test we will know based on the functional requirements. So functional requirements is what are the different features or functionalities we have to test from the application. Okay, so what to test, how to test, and when to test. So these are the three main categories, criteria we have to focus on during test planning. And input documents are project plan and functional requirements we have to refer. Done. So now what are the activities we do in this phase? In the during test planning phase, what are the activities we do? So first activity is we have to identify the resources. So this is actually done by the lead level or test manager level task. Okay, test planning is not done by the test engineer normally. And people who are having 5 years of experience, 7, 10, 15 years of experience guys. So more senior guys will perform the test planning phase. Lead level or manager level people will do that. So here the main activities are identify the resources. What are the resources means? Software and hardware resources. Suppose my project is there, I don't have proper people or testers. What I will do, I just conduct some interviews and recruit the people who are having same kind of skill set. And we need to, or suppose in the project itself there are some other people, they are sitting ideal, they don't have any other project, then I can choose some of the people based upon their skill set. So that is identifying the resources. And also hardware and software environments. So to perform testing, what is kind of hardware environment we required, how many machines are required, like how many other softwares are required. So all these things will be identified during test planning phase itself. That is identify the resources. And team formation. Once the people or resources are recruited or identified, we will form a team, like testing team. Okay, so and so people will conduct manual testing, and so people will conduct automation testing, like this. So team formation will be there. Depends upon the project, we will form the testing team. So that is also part of test planning phase. Test estimation. Test estimation means what? We'll estimate the time for testing, like total duration of the project or total duration of the development process, entire process. And suppose when I say 3 months of project, which includes software requirement analysis, design, coding, testing, deployment, everything, 3 months of project. During 3 months of project, how much time we have to spend for testing phase? How many days we have to spend in the testing phase, or 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks? How much time we have to spend in the testing phase? That is test estimation. We have to estimate the time based upon the requirements, based upon the project plan duration. By keeping all these in your mind, we will prepare the estimation. Test estimation, we can call it as a test estimation. Like how many days total testing will be conducted. Again, we'll split those number of days into multiple parts: sanity testing, smoke testing, functional testing. Okay, or writing the test cases, writing the test plan, reviewing. So all these things, or defect reporting, how much time will take in defect fixing. So by considering all these activities, we will estimate some time, and that time also we will specify in the test plan document. Test estimation means we will estimate the time taken for testing. So that is a next point. Then preparation of the test plan. So now here we prepare the test plan document. So test plan is a document which contains all the planning activities. That means what to test, what not to test, and what are the different kinds of testings we have to conduct, and when we have to conduct the testings, and what are the team members are involved. Okay, so all these things will be included in the test plan. So test plan, plan is sense planning Planning says what we are going to do, what type of testings we are going to do, what kind of people are involved in, when we are conducting the testing, when we are going to conduct the testing. So all these things we put together in one document that is called as a test plan document. And this is most of the time prepared by the test leads and all people who are having some seniors or having more experience. So because this is a more out management level activity. Okay, so test plan is a document which contains a type of testing, features to be tested, features not to tested, schedules, resources, timelines, everything will be part of test plan. Okay, preparation of the test plan is one of the main activity during test planning phase. Then reviews on test plan. So once the test plan document is created, review the test plan. So PM members, whoever is prepared the test plan document, and that plan will be reviewed by the team along with the project management. That is a reviews on the test plan. And finally, test plan sign off. So once you prepare the test plan, we'll get the sign off on test plan to proceed further. So you have some plan. To start implementing the plan, you need some approval from the management or like project manager or product manager. So they will review your test plan and finally they will give the sign off. Okay, sign off in the sense they will officially write a mail after reviewing the test plan. So and so content is fine. So I'm approving the test plan. You guys can proceed with that. So that is a kind of email which we can call it a sign off email. So once you approved the test plan, and then we will proceed with the next phases. So these are the main activities we do as part of test planning. Okay, we don't directly jump into the testing phase. So we have to go a certain process, then only the things will happen properly. Okay, so identifying the resources is one activity, team formation, test estimation, preparation of the test plan, reviews on the test plan, and finally we'll get the sign off on the test plan. So these are the different activities we do as part of test planning phase. Okay, and responsibilities during this particular phase, normal test engineers won't be involved most of the times. The main role will be the test lead or team lead, and the role of team lead or test lead is 70% because he has to do all the activities, and a few activities like test planning or sign off, reviews on test plan. Okay, and these things will be done by the managers, and their role is almost 30%, we can say. Okay, so only the test leads or team leads or managers will be involved in this particular phase. And what is the outcome of after completion of this page? We will get the test plan document finally. Approved test plan document is the outcome from this particular phase. Okay, so this is a one of the important phase in STLC. After understanding the requirement, STLC is a one of the important phase. STLC, test planning, is the first phase. So we are planning the test, and which is mainly focusing on what to test, how to test, and when to test. So what to test means what are the features to be tested, what are the features not to be tested. How to test it means what kind of testings we will conduct, like sanity, smoke, functional, database, UI, performance, security, all kinds of testing we can put as part of how to test. And when to test means timelines and schedules. These are all comes under the when to test. That is test planning phase. Now, so after test planning is completed, test plan is signed off, then the next phase will start called test designing phase. Test development or design. So during test design phase, it will start after completion of test planning. And here we refer a few documents. What are the input for test designing? The main activity in test designing is writing the test cases. So this is a major task of test engineer. So the first and most responsibility of the test engineer is writing the test cases. Understanding the requirement, accordingly, you have to write the test cases. I'll tell you what is the test case, how to write the test cases, everything we will cover in the coming session. Don't worry. So the main activity during test designing is writing the test cases. So the documents we required here is project plan, functional requirements, test plan, which is already created, in the previous phase, and design documents and use cases. So we will refer all these documents during test design phase. We will refer all these documents. So project plan, which contains the schedules and everything, timelines, everything. Functional requirement is a main part. Okay, functional requirements contains a what are all features to be tested, how the application will behave, and what we are going to expect from the application. So the functionalities of the application will be part of functional requirement. So that is a main document during test designing phase. And the test plan also we will refer, because in the test plan also we already mentioned like what are the features to be tested, features not to be tested. All these things we will consider from test plan document. And sometimes we'll also refer design documents, because if you want to know the UI level requirement, like how many buttons should be there, how many text boxes, where the logo should display, what kind of font we have to use on application. So if you want to know all these things, and those things will be part of design document also. And sometimes we need to take help of design documents to understand the functionality more better. And then use cases. Use case is a part of the requirement, which is also part of the functional requirement. And use cases basically describes the requirement, and which will help us to understand the requirement more clearly. And basically the diagrammatic format, the use cases will be there. And by seeing the diagram itself, we can understand what are the different flows we can test on the application. Okay, use case is nothing but a requirement, smallest requirement, which describes the requirement. By taking help of use case, we can clearly understand the functionality of the application. So that is a part of functional requirement. So these are the different documents or inputs we have to take during test designing phase. Okay, then so what are the activities we perform during test designing? The main activity is preparation of test scenarios, preparation of test cases, reviews on the test cases, traceability matrix, and finally sign off. So we will discuss each and every activity in detail. Okay, here I'm just specified very high level what are the activities we do. Each and every activity we perform even practically, okay, in the coming sessions. So first we are understanding the process. So the main activity during the test designing is preparation of the test scenarios. What is test scenario? Scenario means what to test. In our application there is a login box, so that is a scenario. So what are the test case? Preparation of test cases. What is test case? Once you identify the test scenarios, like what are the different areas to be tested, there comes under test scenarios. So once you identified the area to be tested, we have to write the test cases to test that particular part. So for example, login is a scenario. Login is a scenario. And to test the login, we have to write multiple test cases. Like what are the test cases? Like enter valid username, enter password, click on the submit, user will able to user successfully log into application. That is one test case. And what is another test case? Provide invalid username, invalid password, clicking on the submit, login should be restricted, should not able to log in. So that is another test case. Similarly, for one scenario, we can create any number of test cases. Okay, so here the main activity is we have to prepare the test scenarios. Okay, that's the first activity. Then based on the scenarios, we will also prepare the test cases. What is the test case means? Step by step action which we have to perform on the application. So to test the particular functionality, we will perform certain steps. So for example, let us take an Amazon website. In Amazon website, you want to verify something like your product. So you are able to select the product, you're able to add the product to the cart and do the payment. So this is a process you have to test. So you do certain steps. First you need to log into application, then search for the product, add that product to the cart, then provide your communication address, then do the payment. So these are the steps we have to do to test the whole functionality. So that is called test case. So test case is nothing but a step by step actions which we have to perform to test the functionality of the feature. That is called test case. So based upon the scenario, we will create multiple test cases. Scenario is a very high level requirement, high level area where we can conduct testing. And test cases are multiple, so we can create multiple test cases for one scenario. That is another. These are all documents, guys. Okay, we prepare Word documents, Excel documents, everything. So preparing test scenarios, preparing test cases, and then review on the test cases. So we'll conduct the review, because as a tester, I got some feature from the application and I have written some test cases. So sometimes what happens is, I may miss some kind of test cases, right, while reviewing the requirement, everything. Sometimes whatever test case I have written, sometimes they may not be valid. Some of the test cases may not be valid. And sometimes I have written test cases, very few number of test cases. I may miss some areas which will not covered as part of test case. So what you will do is, as soon as you completed your test cases, first review with the peers. So that is called as a peer review. Peer review means PEER. Peer review means whatever the test cases you are created, you will review your test cases with your peer, with your colleague who are working on the same thing. Means he will review, so he will find out what are the different things you have covered or not covered, and if there is any changes, you do changes there itself. So peer review will be conducted within the team. The first review, that's the first review after completion of your test cases. Okay, so your team is, well, so your whatever test cases you have written, your team is helped you to add number of test cases, some more test cases. Like you take help of your team, and based on the help you modified some test cases and added some new test cases or deleted some test cases. You do whatever you want based on your feedback from the team. Once a peer review is completed, then you review with the test cases with the development as well as product managers. That means whoever is involved in the project, everybody in the team, including development, testing, project management, everyone. So everyone sit together and officially conduct the meeting, review meeting. We earlier we have discussed, right, reviews, walkthroughs, inspections. So by using any of the technique, people will conduct the reviews. So reviews on the test case is very very mandatory, because why we have to conduct the review? Because you have written the test cases, you may miss some scenarios, you may not add all the scenarios sometimes, because everyone thinking process will be different. Okay, so you may miss some corner test cases. So once you put the review, everybody will see your test cases, everybody will suggest you, so what kind of changes you have to do, what are the new test cases you have to add, and what you have covered, what you have not covered. So everything, everybody will help you to make changes on the test case design document. So by taking the feedback from all the people in your team, you will modify your test cases. Okay, so you will update your test cases, and these reviews will be happen in multiple rounds, or not only single review. Okay, first you write the test cases, peer review and team review, and they will give some feedback, and again you incorporate those changes in your test cases, and again one more review will be conducted. Again you will show up the modifications to the people, and again they will review, and again they will give you few more inputs or some feedback, and again you will modify it. So different versions you will prepare. And this is not a single time review process. So test cases designing will take a lot of time. Okay, so most of the time we'll spend on the test designing, because this is a crucial. Your test cases is good, then the main intention of creating the test case is to catch the bugs. If I execute some test case which will able to catch the bugs in your application, so this will play very very important role. Okay, so that's the reason you will spend a lot of time, and more number of people will be involved. All the team members will be involved in the test designing phase. So that is all about reviews. And traceability matrix. What is traceability matrix means? Suppose whatever test cases you have created, suppose let's say I have created 100 test cases. For what requirements I created these 100 test cases? That means requirement ID and corresponding test cases. So what is the requirement? What are the corresponding test cases I have written? So the mapping document you will prepare. So the what is it is a kind of Excel file. Mapping document means what? You will mention all the requirements, and for each requirement what are the test cases you have written. So you will specify the test case IDs. So the mapping between the requirements and test cases. is called a small document you will prepare. That is called as a traceability matrix, or we can say requirement traceability matrix, RTM. RTM, requirement traceability matrix, refers the requirements and corresponding test cases. The mapping is correctly there or not. So which requirement, for requirement one, how many test cases I have written? Requirement two, how many test cases I have written? So each and every requirement we specify. So finally, traceability matrix says what are the requirements you covered, what are the requirements you have not covered. Okay, so to understand that better, because if I don't know requirement traceability matrix, you keep on writing the test cases, you don't know finally what are the requirements you covered in the test cases are not covered, you don't know finally. So for that we will prepare one document that is called traceability matrix, mapping of requirements and test case. I think that is a one of the important activity we do that. Finally, we will get the sign off test from test cases. Everybody should sign off, guys. Developer, your team lead, QA team lead, developers, product managers, and customers, whoever is given the requirements to you. So from everybody, we have to get the sign off on the test cases, and then only we proceed for execution. Until unless we get the sign off, you should not proceed further. Sign off is very, very important. Okay. So sign off in the sense they will send an email. Okay, so they will send an email, official email. So and so document we reviewed, and so content has to be modified and modified. So with this, you guys can proceed with the execution. So we will get email from development team, you'll get the email from product team and everyone. So once you get the sign off on the document, then we will proceed for the next phase. So these are the main activities we do as part of test designing. Yes, sign off is a like a proof. Okay, because why we have to get the sign off and everything? Because it is a safety purpose. For example, today I have written 100 test cases. Okay, so I haven't reviewed with anybody. I haven't get any sign off. Then I have started execution. My testing is completed. All the testing cycles are done. Finally, what happens? Suppose in production or somewhere, the customer found some bug. Okay, immediately what happens? They try to blame the testing team. Okay, this is a bug is arrived in the production environment, customer is found some bug, whether it is tested or not, this scenario tested or not, then directly they will blame on the testing team. So what testing team will do now? First testing will check for corresponding test case we have or not. First of all, that is very important. If the test case is not there in your document, then definitely that is a problem or mistake for tester. And one more thing, suppose even though you miss something, for example, and the bug is come in the production, the test case is not there in the document. And once you get the, we already reviewed with the team, right? Nobody is telling about that scenario. So you have not included in the document, right? So in that case, you have a sign off also. Everybody's approved your test cases. So then you proceeded further because everybody's approved your test cases. So you, nobody will not blame you because you already reviewed, you already shown your test case to everybody. Everybody's approved, your management is approved. So you proceed further. So in that case, you can escape from that situation. So nobody will blame you because you are properly done the test cases, you reviewed, got the feedback, included that feedback, everything is done. But nobody is find out the test case. Nobody is written the test case for that scenario. So at the later stages, the customer found the bug. So that is the main thing. For that reason, we will always get the sign off from the document. It is a kind of approval. Okay, once you get approval, you can proceed further confidently. Okay, if you don't get approval, what happens? They will blame you, and they finally ask you, we will, who will review your test cases, who has given the approve your test cases. So in that case, the tester has to be answer. Okay, so that is very, very important, guys. So sign off is nothing but a proof from others. Okay, we have reviewed this document, it is well documented, you guys can proceed with that. So we need to get mail from everybody, development manager or developers, product managers, project managers, even QA lead, everyone. Okay, and responsibilities, team lead or test lead 30%, because he will involved during reviews. Okay, and he will get the approval from all the team members. And test engineers role is 70% because most of the activities were done by the test engineers. Preparation of the test scenarios, preparation of the test cases, review and traceability matrix and reviews. Most of the activities done by the testers or test engineer. So test engineer role will be 70% and team lead or tester role will be 30%. Okay. And the outcome is what? Once you complete a test designing, what you will get the outcome? Test cases document signed off. Test cases document will be approved. Signed off document we will get as an outcome, and traceability matrix also. So these are the two documents we will get as an outcome after completion of the test designing phase. Okay. So understood guys, first phase and second phase, test planning and test designing. So once you completed test planning and test designing, then we will move on to the test execution phase. Okay. Now let us move on to the next phase called test execution phase. So once the test cases are ready or approved, then we go for test execution phase. And this is also one of the important aspect area, test execution. So in this phase, what are the input documents we have to refer? Functional requirements. We have to be there, and test plan document, test cases. These are the documents which are already prepared in the earlier phases. Apart from this, the main thing is build from development team. Okay, so before getting the build is nothing but a software, a piece of software which contains few number of features, because developer will not develop all the features in one shot. So they will develop the features in multiple builds. So every time we will get multiple builds from the developer. Build contains sometimes bug fixes, sometimes new features, everything. So to start execution, we need to have build from the developer. And before getting the build from the developer, by the time we have to complete these activities, planning, designing, everything we have to complete and get ready for build, which is delivered from the developer. So by the time we get the build from the developer, we are ready with the test cases, test plans, requirement, everything. And even we have to set up the test environment also. Okay. So these are the inputs from inputs for test execution. To start test cases execution, we need to have these inputs. Then what are the activities we perform here is executing the test cases. Whatever test case we have written in the previous phase, the same test cases we will execute on the application under test. Okay, so login test case we already written earlier. So that login test case we will execute. Similarly, what are all test cases we already written in the Excel file? All the test cases we will execute one after another. Again, we will define the phases. First, we prioritize the test cases, like what test case we have to execute first and what test case execute the next. Based on the priority of the test cases, we will execute those test cases. So first test case, we will execute smoke test cases. Smoke test cases means what? Basic functionality testing. As soon as you get the build from the developer, we will test installation is working properly or not. And whatever build we got from the development, that build contains all features or not. And that build is having all the proper installer files or not. Installation is successful or not. Once the installation is successful, each and every page navigation is working properly or not. So this is smoke testing, basic functionality testing. And also we will conduct sanity testing, all the features with very high level. Then we proceed with the functional testing. So based upon our test type, we will prioritize our test cases, like P1 test cases, P2 test cases, P3 test cases. And based on the priorities, we will execute the test cases. You have 100 test cases, but what are the test cases you have to execute first? So based on the priority, you have to choose those test cases. So execution of the test cases is one of the important activity during test execution phase. And the second thing is, while executing your test cases, two things you have to do parallelly. So you have to prepare the test report. Actually, deferred reporting tagging is also part of execution, but I have written as a separate step. Okay. So while executing the test cases, you prepare one test report also, like on day-to-day basis. At the end of the day, you have to send the report to the management. So how many test cases have executed today? How many test cases got passed? How many test cases got failed? Okay, so this kind of information you will prepare in the report, and which is also called as test log document. Test log document. Okay, so we prepare one document. We will keep all the test cases status, passed or failed or blocked, all this, and we will keep them in one document or one report, and either it can be Excel or whatever. We'll send that to the management team. And identifying the defects is a one of the main activity in test execution. So as soon as you executed your test case, you have to check actual behavior and expected. Whatever you expected, you do some action. For example, after performing action, how application is giving the response, whether it is expected response or not. If there is any mismatch between your expected and actual, you can consider that as a bug and you can report to the developer. So identifying the defects is a major main activity during test execution, executing the test case and identifying the defects. So this is a major role of the test engineer. And we will prepare the test report also, or which is also called as test log document. So these are the activities we do normally. And responsibilities, test lead or test team lead is 10%, because he just monitor the activities, whether all test engineers are working fine or not, everyone is properly executing the test cases or not, or are they facing any issues or environmental issues or resources issues, they will take care of. So team lead and test lead role will be 10%, and 90% role is for test engineers. Okay, so execution of the test cases, preparation of the test report, identifying the defects, every activity will be done by the test engineers themselves. Only team lead or test lead will monitor the process, monitor the people. That's it. Okay, and finally, what's the outcome from this phase? Status and test reports. We'll get the test reports. So this is a test execution phase. After completion of the design, test execution will start. Yeah, so once the execution is completed, so while doing execution phase itself, deferred reporting tracking will happen. Here I have listed out as a separate phase, but this is also included in the test execution, because as soon as you have executing your test case, while you are executing your test case, you found some mismatch between your expected and actual. Then what you will do is you will report the defect. So deferred reporting is also happen during execution time itself. So in the defect reporting and tracking, we refer the test cases and test reports. And here the main thing is preparation of the defect report. So initially we'll prepare one Excel file, keep on adding all the defects list. And as soon as you reported the defect to the developer, we can also keep tracking of all defects in the Excel sheet, no problem at all, because we can just note down there what are the defects we raised, how many are fixed, how many are not fixed, still open defects. We can track that information. So for that, we can prepare our defect report itself. So preparation of defect report, reporting defects to the developer. So as soon as you found some mismatch between expected and actual, we report those defects to the developer. So these are the two main activities we perform during defect reporting and tracking phase. And activities are test lead or team lead is 10% involvement will be there, and test engineers will be 90% role. And test leads or team lead, just they will monitor the process, they'll monitor the activities what you are going to do. So that is the only role for them, and test engineers actually perform the activities. And what is the outcome here? Defect report. Okay, this is the defect reporting and tracking. This is also part of test execution. Now, once it is completed, the final phase is test closure or sign off. So here we are ending the testing. We are stopping our testing. So once you completed all the activities, we have executed the test cases, you found number of bugs, you reported them, and developer fixed it. Again, you have retested it, confirmed everything is working fine according to requirements and test cases. And finally, we will stop testing. And that is called as a test closure or sign off testing. So here the main input is test reports and defect reports. So before signing off the testing, how we will decide when we need to sign off testing? We have to conduct a meeting. Okay, we have to conduct a meeting with all the team, and review we have to do. So on what we have to do review? Test reports we have to review, like whether we have executed all the test cases or not, and all the test cases got passed or not. So we have to review them. And defects reports also we have to review, So how many defects we have raised, how many are got fixed by the developer, how many are got rejected, how many got still open, and whatever open defects are, whatever the defects are open, they are minor defects or major defects. Okay, if it is a major defects, we must fix it. Okay, developer must fix it. If it is a minor defects, very like small spelling mistakes and UI related issues, color, these are very minor defects that will not affect the business functionality. So in those cases, no problem. But there is also a criteria we have to follow when we have to exit the testing. Means there are some criteria. It depends on the company to company, change the company to company. So we have to follow certain criteria, and if the criteria are satisfied, then we have to exit from the testing. So here mainly we review test reports and defect reports. So these are the two things which we have to review. And what are the activities we do? We'll analyze the test reports, analyze the bug reports, and evaluate the exit criteria. This is another important thing. So on what basis we have to exit from the testing? So that criteria will be also defined in the test plan itself. So normally what is the criteria? Let us say normally you have bugs. Let us say you have P1, P2 and P3 bugs. So P1 means very high critical bugs. P2 means major bugs. P3 means minor bugs. So even though applications having P3 bugs, you, business functionality will not broken. So business functionality will not be impacted. So it's very minor defects. So sometimes the criteria will be, there will be 2 or 3 P3 bugs can be there, but there is no P1s and P2. That is a criteria. If your criteria is matched, then you can release a product or software to the customer. Okay, because 100% bug free product will not be there. Okay, remember this in interview. Can you deliver 100% quality product to the customer, or zero bug product to the customer, bug free product? No, somewhere some underlying defects will be there which we cannot identify. So those defects will be found from the customer side after few months or few years. So but maximum we have to try. So there should not be any P1 and P2 defects, and very minor defects even though we have, that should not impact on customer business flow, and still that is acceptable. Okay, so this is all will be discussed as part of evaluation meeting. So evaluation or exit criteria we have to check, and accordingly we have to sign off our testing, and we release our software to the next phase, or user acceptance testing will be there. After that customer will start using the product. So these are the different phases we have to involve in the STLC. So here test lead or team lead role is 10%, test engineers are so here test lead test manager role is 70%, because he has to decide whether we have to exit from the testing or not by understanding these documents. And test engineer role will be 30%. And finally we will have test summary reports. What is test summary report means? Which includes everything from the test plan, test cases, testability matrix, defect reports, test reports. Everything will combine as a test summary reports. Finally we will hand over to the customer also. Okay, so this is all about STLC process, software testing life cycle process. Test planning, test design, test execution, defect reporting and tracking, finally test closure or sign off. Okay.